So welcome in everyone, and thank you for attending this webinar or viewing the recording. I am Noel Weber with the City of Miami Beach, and this webinar is to introduce the Private Property Adaptation Program application period for 2024. This webinar is focused on Miami Beach residents. However, if you are a business tenant or business owner, is a webinar specifically for businesses that's available online. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Juanita Ballesteros to get us started.
Hi, everyone. Good evening. We are so pleased to have you here tonight. My name is Juanita Ballesteros. I am the Sustainability and Resilience Manager here for the City of Miami Beach. We are really happy to share with you that the Private Property Adaptation Program has officially launched. It opened on February 15th, and we will be accepting applications through March 15th. This is the second time that we are offering this program, and we are really excited to hopefully work with you in the future. If you'll go to the next slide, you'll see our session agenda. Today in the session, we're going to cover the PPA program purpose, a summary of the program structure. We'll go over how to submit your application. We'll go over an introduction to our prime consultant, which is Brazaga, and then show you our contact information. We encourage you, if you have any questions or difficulties during this process, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to assist you with this. So, this program is made possible by a huge collaboration with our entire city and our departments, but here is our central team. This is Amy Knowles, our Chief Resilience Officer. There is myself. I am like I said, the Sustainability and Resilience Manager. We have Noel Weber, who is our Resilience Coordinator, and he will be your main point of contact throughout this process. We also have our prime consultant, Brazaga, and that is Michael Antonelli, who is the principal and co-founder, and is joining us here on the call, and you will hear from him a little bit later. Wonderful. So I really wanted to set the stage. As we know, as a city, we face a good amount of risk, right? Most of Miami Beach is within the special flood hazard area. So it's 93% of our buildings, and 64% of our buildings are older and were constructed before the first FEMA flood insurance rate map that required higher construction. So, we have sea levels that are expected to rise about 1 to 2 feet in the next 20 or 30 years. But like I said, most of our city, and frankly, a lot of South Florida, our buildings and infrastructure were built without the understanding of flood risk and sea level rise. So, for us, it's really important, and our community's climate resilience really depends on a mix of both public and private actions. The city's resilience work is focused on reducing damage. Most cities will rebuild after a weather event. We really want to, like the slide sort of says, inform ourselves with the best information, prepare and adapt to the changes that we've seen. We've enacted numerous land use rules and different developments to increase our resilience, but it's really important to protect the older building stock, that contributes to our sense of place, and make sure that that kind of persists into the future. Just as important as, the city working on our public, facing buildings and infrastructure, we depend on the private sector, right, to focus on this. And here at the city, we want to help and promote that resilience, which is the intention of this program, which is why we're so excited to bring it to you. So our program goals are going to reduce the flood risk and increase our city's resilience by incentivizing flood risk mitigation activities. We do this by increasing flood risk awareness for you, our residents and stakeholders, and through this program to provide options and funding for flood risk improvement. Like I mentioned in the previous slide, to achieve holistic resilience for all of our residents, businesses, and public assets. It involves investing in both the future of our private and public spaces. So we are really thrilled again to work with you to achieve this. So what is flood mitigation? What do we mean when we talk about it? This program is focused specifically on flood mitigation, and we're looking at reducing the depth, duration, and extent of flooding, as well as reducing the potential damage that's going to be caused by flooding. The types of projects that we're looking at, you can see some here on the screen. We're really looking at a range of activities, and it depends the conditions that your property faces, as well as really what your interests are. So it can be something as small as a rain barrel or a rain garden, to deployable barriers, to kind of large changes like seawall elevation or even building elevation. Here's our program overview. Just to give you a first quick glance, this program is open to residential, both single and multifamily, as well as commercial properties. The program funds a flood risk assessment, and it funds the implementation of resilient flood improvements. So the way this program is structured is that it's a 50-50 matching grant up to $20,000. So $2,500 is funded by the city, and that's the cost of the flood risk assessment. And then the property owner is reimbursed half of the project costs up to $17,500. So what do we mean by this? For instance, if the project cost is $10,000, we expect the participant to put in $5,000 and the city will put in $5,000. This is going to apply all the way up to $17,500. Any amount above that is going to be covered completely by. However, the qualifying low to moderate income households, if you apply and are certified as a low to moderate income household, are not required to provide a grant match, and that will be up to $17,500. So again, anything above that you would be expected to cover. I also wanted to emphasize this is a competitive reimbursement-based grant, and that application does not guarantee funding. So this is just an overview of how our program is structured, and we'll go into more details in the next slide. So first you have the assessment. A flood risk assessment is conducted. It's going to include a site visit. And in the end, you'll get a report with up to 3 suitable projects to mitigate flood risk. And again, the cost of this assessment is covered by the city. It's a cost of $2,500. And then you move on to phase 2, which is design and construction. So you're going to review your assessment, determine the scope, find and select your contractor, and then after the project is completed and you've submitted your documentation, then you can request a reimbursement for up to $17,500 in matching funds. And again, it's really important to note that only the project costs that are directly related to flood risk mitigation activities are going to be reimbursable under this program. So let's go into a little bit more detail on this one, if we go to the next slide. So right now we're in phase 1 in the assessment. So first you're going to submit your documents and the application online. We're going to review and select the application and then notify the selected applicants. Then our consultant, Brazaga, is going to meet with each selected applicant to gather more information and schedule a site visit. After the site visit, we'll complete the assessment report and send to the selected applicants. Then you move on to phase 2, which is design and construction of the flood mitigation projects. So you're going to review your assessment report. You're going to choose which flood mitigation projects you're interested in, and we'll work with you to finalize the phase 2 grant agreement. Then you'll be able to solicit quotes, and you can hire your own contractor to complete the project. This is going to allow you to choose your preferred contractor that's best able to meet your needs. Upon completion of the project, the participant, that's you, is going to submit a reimbursement request with all of your documentation to receive a reimbursement check from the city. And, we want to make sure that this is really clearly stated up front that this is a reimbursement-based project. So you'll cover the costs, and once the documentation has been approved, then you'll be able to submit for reimbursement. So that was the overview, but what do you need to worry about now? The first step in phase 1 is to get information about the program. Here you are in this webinar. You can also go to our website, or if you have more in-depth questions, you can schedule office hours with our resilience coordinator. Then you'll gather your application materials and documentation to submit your application by March 15th. We are going to review and prioritize the applications based on our available funding. Then you'll be notified of your selection into the program, and you'll begin the onboarding process with our prime consultant, which is Brazaga. And this process should be completed by about late spring. In the summer, you're going to receive your flood risk assessment site visit, and then the phase 1 report is anticipated to be delivered to you by early fall. And here's a breakdown of our different, the responsibilities on the city side and the responsibility for the participants. So from the city, we'll give you guidance on program requirements. Again, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions on the requirements or the application. We are here to help you. We're going to review and evaluate all the applications. We're going to request any corrections or additional documentation from you. We'll notify participants who have been accepted, and then we'll review the assessment reports that are created by our consultant, Brazaga. On your end, you'll submit all of the required application documents. You will obtain commitment from your ownership structure, and this will go into in a little bit more detail later. But essentially, this means if you are in a condo or other multifamily multifamily residence, that you're able to get buy-in from your board or other, again, ownership structure. Please monitor your emails for notifications from us via either Submittable, which is our application portal, or our Rising Above email. Please respond to these requests in a timely manner so that we can get the project moving. And then you will meet with consultants to conduct your virtual onboarding and your property site visit. So to take you through a breakdown of what exactly is required and how to apply, I'll hand things off to Noel.
Juanita. So the next part that I'll go into is more information about the application process and what's required for it. So the first thing that's going to be required is your property elevation certificate. This elevation certificate just has information regarding various elevations of your property, whether that's the first finished floor elevation. And this can be gotten from the city if the building was built after 1995. You can either call 305-673-7610 to learn more, or you can visit our website at mbrisingabove.com, and we have information on how to submit a records request from the building department. That records request does take up to 5 days to process, so make sure that you make that request earlier rather than later. If the building department does not have your elevation certificate on file because your property was built after 1995, our website under the application process page does have more information on how to seek either your elevation certificate through other means or on how to hire a surveyor to complete it. The next thing that you'll need is a proof of property flood insurance. If you do not currently have flood insurance, you will need to obtain a policy. And the maintenance of this flood insurance, keeping it active, is required throughout the duration of the program. Additionally, a license agreement allowing a site visit to the property will be required. This form is included on our application, so you don't need to create that yourself. You'll go on the application, you'll download the form, and then have either you yourself or your ownership structure go through and approve it and sign. Additionally, if you're a condo association or a co-op, we will need a corporate resolution authorizing application submission to the program. This is just permission by the association leadership and allowing you to engage in the program activities moving forward. Other forms that are required is a proof of identity. This can be in the form of a state ID or a passport. Additionally, the year of your property construction will need to be provided. Proof of your property ownership. This could be in the form of a warranty deed or a quitclaim deed. Also, the county property appraiser's office may have other documentation that can be eligible, but please reach out to us if you have any questions. Income information will be required for those who are seeking a low to moderate income designation. And then any proof of a historic designation will be required if you're seeking that designation as well. Finally, if it is a condominium association or a co-op, proof of incorporation and good standing is required, and this can be available through sunbiz.org. So next, after you've submitted your application, we'll go through and review it with a multidisciplinary team from the city of Miami Beach. Some of the criteria that we use to evaluate these applications will be the elevation of the residence, whether you yourself are a resident of Miami Beach, and if it's your primary residence, if it's historically designated, if it's a low to moderate income home, and then some flooding information. So is it in an area that floods a lot, and what's the historical flooding experience? And was there any flooding evidence or insurance claims submitted for that? The reason we go through this evaluation is because the projects will be awarded to applications based upon available funds. So once again, as Juanita stated, application does not guarantee funding, and we will be prioritizing based on this evaluation criteria. Next, how do I apply? So you can apply by visiting our website, mbrisingabove.com/PPA. On that page, in the middle of the page, you'll see this Apply Now button. You'll click that, and it'll take you to our application platform called Submittable. If you're looking for more information about the application process before beginning your program or before beginning your application, and you want to prepare some of that documentation or view this webinar or other webinars afterward, you can go to the application process link up at the top left of the page. So we want to provide some tips to kind of help your application process go more smoothly and ensure that communication is maintained throughout the process. So when you click on that application Apply Now page button, you'll be sent to Submittable. It's going to look like that screen on the right. The first thing it's going to ask you to do is to provide an email, a password, and then your first and last name. This is to create your Submittable account. Make sure, we want to be very clear that this email that you provide in this section is the email account that will be reached out to through Submittable and through other contacts of Miami Beach. So it's our primary contact for you, and that's where you'll get all of your information at first. So if there's any issues with your application, you would receive a notification through that email. Or if your application is accepted, you may receive your communication through that email. So please, please, please make sure that that email account is actively monitored. Another nifty feature of Submittable is that it allows you to save your application draft and then revisit it later. So if you scroll to the bottom of the page and you want to come back and review your application at another date, or you need to compile some more information or gather some more documentation, you can click on that Save Application Draft and then you can revisit it. Now, I'd like to hand it off to Michael Antonelli from Brazaga to introduce the Brazaga team and their work.
Thank you, Noel. Thank you, Juanita. Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Antonelli. I'm principal here at Brazaga, principal engineer, and I will be leading the program on the consultant side of this project. Noel, can you navigate to the next slide, please? Thank you. So our consultant team, we're actually made up of a series of different consultants. Brazaga's up here at the top. Will be leading the initiative on our side. We're a local multidisciplinary firm. We focus on flooding, rising tide, changing environment primarily. We have a civil and coastal background, and we've worked, we led this program in the first cohort last year and learned a lot as part of that. We're excited to bring the lessons we learned to this cohort as well. We have a series of other consultants that specialize in resiliency for historic structures, in stormwater management and landscape architecture, all within the Miami Beach area that have extensive experience and know the communities and the neighborhoods pretty well. It's also important to note that adaptation differs by the asset type, different solutions for different types of properties. Last year, the program saw a very large number of single-family homes and a few multifamily properties. And the types of solutions that we offer are really customized based on the operational needs and the other unique needs of each property. We work very closely with property owners or program participants in order to identify what the most appropriate solution is for you. We'll work to develop concepts in concert with you to make sure that we're providing something that makes the most sense and that is also compliant with city, local, state, federal regulations. This slide presents a very rough example of what adaptation might look like. These are some more of the costly alternatives, and there's a large range of alternatives between elevating a structure and not. But this is just to illustrate the concepts that we take and the considerations that we make in terms of overall cost versus effectiveness, and how what we find is that there's usually a balance between what you spend versus the level of protection that you get. In this particular example, we're showcasing the improvements to the structure itself, but there are also adaptation alternatives that we may consider that involve improvements of the site, the landscape areas around the property, and things that we might be able to do there. This was actually taken, this image was taken from the business case analysis for the stormwater resiliency program within the city, which serves sort of as a basis for the development of this program. I also wanted to share with you an example of an adaptation project that we had conducted for Vizcaya Museum and Gardens. They suffered some flooding during Hurricane Irma, and it flooded out their cafe and their gift shop, and they were out of service in those areas for quite some time. It also did some extensive damage to the gardens. And so we worked with them to identify the areas that needed protection, figure out the alignments where protection might be best placed. And we worked with them to develop a solution that can be deployed ahead of time with advance notice, advance warning of a storm coming. They can roll out this system and install it as needed. And then once the storm passes, they can remove it, put it back into storage where they have it. And the landscape is actually, you can't really notice that this would be installed at any given time, the way that the anchorage and installation was designed. So they were very happy with this, and we're actually in the process of working with them now on a more permanent solution. I wanted to also walk you through a brief overview of our process. It's a 5-step process for the phase 1 site assessment. Right now, the application period is open. The city is going to be processing all of that data and awarding or admitting folks into the program. Once the city has identified the program participants, they're going to share all of that data with us. We're going to take a look at all of that information to identify and match with the proper team members, and make sure that we're able to fully understand the existing conditions as they are. We're going to be looking at things like elevations and finished floors, everything that's included within the documentation that the city is requesting, along with some other backup documentation that we have on hand. Included in that application or in that award notification will be a link to schedule an onboarding call with a member of our team. We'll have that participant onboarding where we'll ask some additional questions to paint a better picture of what your experiences are on site. And we are planning to hold all of those calls via Zoom so that we can share screens, look at aerials, look at images together, and talk about all of the different considerations that we should be considering. Once we've conducted that onboarding assessment, you'll get a follow-up email with another link to schedule your site visit. A member of our team will then come out to visit the site, walk the property with you, and talk about the different alternatives and what we see, what your experiences are, and try to get even closer to alignment on what the recommended alternatives might be. And again, this is all going to be through the lens of what your needs are, your operational needs, what constraints you may have, and what the existing site conditions look like. We'll take all that information back, develop these adaptation concepts, share them with the city, and share them with you. And once you receive that report, you'll get a final link to schedule your final call. We'll hold an offboarding call with each program participant to walk you through the findings, talk about the solutions, answer any additional questions, and provide as much clarity as possibly can so that you're equipped to make the best decision for yourself moving forward into the construction phase. So some of the highlights, I talked about participant onboarding. You're going to be getting links so that you can go ahead and schedule everything. You don't have to worry about understanding all 5 steps right now. We're going to walk you through those piece by piece. We're going to focus on the history of flooding experiences so that our team can have the most comprehensive understanding of your goals. Within the site visits, we're going to have a member of our engineering or landscape architecture team lead that depending on the findings of our preliminary analysis, as well as the conversations that we have with you during the onboarding call. And then finally, with offboarding, we're going to provide a comprehensive review.
Wonderful. Thank you, Michael. And then as he said, after that phase 1, those phase 1 activities are complete, we would move into phase 2, design and construction. But for now, let's go over the next steps and a bit of further information about your application. So just to be clear about the upcoming dates for the application due date, it is March 15th, that's a Friday, at 5 p.m. is when the applications will close. If you run into any issues with your application as you begin or as you're looking through it and trying to assemble documentation, please give us a communication. You can reach out to us via mbrisingabove@miamibeachfl.gov. You can give us a call at 305-673-7084. Those communications are at the bottom of the screen. Or you can schedule some office hours with me. These are on an online booking link, or you can request to come in person. I hold office hours from Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and on Thursdays from 1 p.m. to 3 p.m. So there's a booking link within this presentation, and then also on the application and also on our application process page for MD Rising Above. So please reach out to me if you have any questions, and I can walk through them with you and provide that that dedicated service. So I want to thank you all for attending this webinar. If anyone has any questions, please keep these questions general, not necessarily just to your specific property, but if you have any questions about the program in general and the steps and any other kind of process related questions, please use the raise hand function and I will unmute you and allow you to speak.
And as we wait to see if we have any participants with questions, I do want to emphasize that, as you saw, the application does have several required documents that may take some time to compile. And so we do encourage you to look through the application now, get a feel for what documentation is required from you so that you have time to act on it if necessary. So definitely take a look. And as we say, please feel free to reach out to us at any moment if you have questions on those.
All right. It seems that there is no one with any questions. So I want to thank you all for attending this webinar or for viewing it online. We appreciate you taking the time to learn more about this program, and we hope that you will apply and find this program useful as well. So thank you so much, and we look forward to your applications.